Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking about vaping. Say no to vaping. Did you know that in 2016, more than 2 million teenagers began using e-cigarettes each month? E-cigarettes were created to persuade adults to stop smoking cigarettes. This development has captured the attention of teens and has created an addiction that was not previously there. With that being said, students need to know what they are putting into their bodies and not do it just to fit in. E-cigarettes contain nicotine just like actual cigarettes and aren't much better than the public makes them seem. Today I'm going to talk about vaping, what chemicals are included, the long-term effects, and the disadvantages that overrule the advantages. First, let's talk about what vaping is and what it contains. Vaping is a type of e-cigarette that people use to inhale an aerosol, which gives them a brief escape from reality, or a high, essentially. One of the many chemicals in these electronic cigarettes is nicotine, which is a very addictive drug that is also found in cigarettes themselves. According to the article about e-cigarettes on the National Institute on Drug Abuse website, written by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources, they say all e-cigarettes work about the same, which says here. Puffing activates the battery-powered heating area, which vaporizes the liquid in the cartridge, and after that, the person then inhales the aerosol into their lungs. Nicotine is the main chemical of concern that is in most e-cigarettes. According to the article about e-cigarettes on the National Institute on Drug Abuse website by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources, they say that nicotine in e-liquids is readily absorbed from the lungs and into the bloodstream. After it enters the bloodstream, the nicotine then stimulates the adrenal glands to release the hormone epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline, which gives you that sense of a high or escape from reality. Now that you know what vaping is and what is in it, let's discuss the long-term effects of vaping. There have been multiple studies as to what is in an e-cigarette liquid, but as of today, many people are still unsure. This means that no one can be too sure for any long-term effects, but comparing the e-cigarettes to real cigarettes, the effects are about the same. There are a few main concerns in the long run for vaping. They are cancer, dependency, and the effect vaping can have on brain development. According to Beaumont.org, Brent Fuller, MD, a pediatrician and internal medicine physician, says, when you vape, you are inhaling a multitude of chemicals, which is what I have an image of right here. And there are at least 60 chemical compounds that have been found in e-cigarettes so far. And still, today, nobody knows what you are exactly inhaling. So in this image right here, the lady is blowing out the vapor, essentially what you breathe in. And it shows volatile organic compounds, nicotine, which is what I talked about earlier, cancer-causing chemicals, heavy metals. There tends to be like tin, copper, things like that actually in what you are inhaling into your lungs. And another thing is the flavoring that comes with it, which is typically what attracts the teens to actually inhale or vape, essentially. Also, another concern is the nicotine that is found in almost all e-cigarettes. According to Beaumont.org, Brent Fuller, MD, a pediatrician and internal medicine physician, says the long-term effects of nicotine is a higher risk for addiction and negative impact on brain development, specifically your working memory and attention span. So if a young teen starts vaping or smoking at a really young age, it can affect the way that they think, their grades in school, how they perform in athletics, many different things. Now that we have briefly talked about the long-term effects of vaping, let's go talk about why you should not vape and the disadvantages that overrule the advantages. On the media today, there are some claims that vaping is better than smoking cigarettes. This has not yet been proved. In fact, in most cases, cigarette users try vaping, they go right back to smoking cigarettes. Also, there are no known benefits of vaping. However, there are many health risks. As I said before, the cancer and the brain development, that is also a common side effect of smoking cigarettes. It happens more quickly in cigarettes, but it is still present when you vape. It just is over a long period of time. According to NBC News, an article called The Health Risks of Vaping, author Nicole Spector says that e-cigarettes trigger the same immune response that normal cigarettes do. They spur unique immune responses. This shows that e-cigarettes may be portrayed as harmless, but in reality they produce the same health risks and danger as normal cigarettes do. According to NBC News article called The Health Risks of Vaping, author Nicole Spector says if you're trying to quit smoking cigarettes, many experts recommend replacement therapy, like patches, gum, lozenges, inhalers, that deliver a small, controlled amount of nicotine to help satisfy cravings and reduce the urge to smoke. Using these replacements is your next best option. Don't go to vaping because it still has nicotine in it, and it is not a controlled amount that you're putting into your body. It is however much you do smoke. So in the long run, it really is not any different than smoking a cigarette. If you don't smoke, don't start now, especially vaping. So if you don't even smoke cigarettes, do not start vaping. That leads to an addiction that wasn't even previously there. I've now talked about what vaping is, the long-term effects, and how the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. Now that I've talked about all the risks and disadvantages to vaping, it's time for you to decide for yourself. Is the brief moment of relaxation worth getting cancer in your future or slowly ruining your brain function? Cigarette users look to FDA-approved solutions to help quit smoking. Vaping only encourages it. Don't start vaping, it will ruin your life. And in this last part right here, it shows you what a cigarette is and what an e-cigarette is, and as I talked about before, the advantages and disadvantages.